Hello and welcome back to this channel. I hope you're having an amazing day. Happy Tuesday. It's Tuesday, December 2nd. We're trucking along here in December. Oh my gosh. My name is Mandy Magnan. I'm an actress, writer, producer, and director in Toronto, a movie reviewer, pop culture, and your YouTube commentator for everything. It ends with never. We are going to get into it today. First, I just want to talk about Sabrina Carpenter has come out and made a little statement. Then we're going to get into the new filings from, of course, Blake Lively on the docket, just crashing out again. There's also been a letter submitted, a joint letter for an extension of time. And then we are going to go over the rest of the unsealed deposition from the PR side. So this will just be Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel, and Jed Wallace. And that is, again, what Blake provided as exhibits to help her with the sanctions for spoliation. Okay, so grab your emotional support lip gloss. You are in frame with Mandy Magnan. Okay, so without getting too much into politics, okay, the White House has used some songs recently in some videos and TikToks and on their Twitter account, and they're just doing the whole social media thing. And a while back, not too long ago actually, they used a Taylor Swift song in one of their videos, and now recently they've used a Sabrina Carpenter song, and the video they used it to is about with ICE agents doing what ICE does, you feel me? Anyway, and Sabrina Carpenter has come out and made a statement. Sabrina Carpenter has said, "This video is evil and disgusting. Do not ever involve me or my music to benefit your inhumane agenda." She was quick with it, okay? Because I think it was like within 48 hours she came out and made a public statement. Now, the White House has used a few of Taylor Swift's songs in the last couple of weeks. And if you're wondering, well, oh my gosh, Taylor must have come out and said something about that. What has Taylor said? Taylor Swift has not publicly commented to the president's use of her music yet. Yeah, I'm going to leave that one there. A lot of artists have come out to condemn Trump as well as the White House when it goes to using their music, from anyone from Beyonce all the way to the Foo Fighters, and now to Canadians' own Franklin is Canadian, and Pete Hegseth went and tweeted this of a children's book using Franklin, saying, "For your Christmas list." The title of it is, the entire thing about it is a little bizarre, especially targeted to children. Okay. And the author has also come out and condemned them for doing this because it's a freaking children's book, okay? So, I don't know. Taylor Swift's silence on the whole thing is, you can put the pieces together, but, silence can oftentimes be louder than words and noise and action. So, very interesting. I knew Sabrina was going to have a problem with this and come out and say something, and I'm very happy that she did, for sure. And it just is yet again Taylor Swift's silence and complicity. Who are you, girl? What's going on? What do you actually stand for? What are you doing? What is you saying? Because it's not looking good. And now, just for funsies, let's do the little Google search and see what kind of PR havoc we are working with. Let's see what's going on. So this is just searching Blake Lively. Let's see what we get here. And it's all going to be about their kids. Yeah, I guess Ryan Reynolds out there working extra hard today. Oh my gosh, watch inside Ryan Reynolds and Blake's love story. No, thank you. I hope that kind of love never finds me, ever. Thank you so much. Don't want to be inside that. It's about their kids. So it's all the same story here about this. The kid loves Green Lantern. Oh my gosh, breaking news. And then we have Ryan Reynolds, just a quick Google search on him. They're coming out, big awards. Yeah, their mentorship program. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And then the same regurgitated story about their 2-year-old son loving the Green Lantern. This is the news. This is what they're replacing the news with, is this one story about freaking Green Lantern. And yes, Hugh Jackman made a comment about how Ryan Reynolds is going to be so jealous of him. I'm sure you'll share it. Whatever it is. And then, of course, Taylor Swift is coming out with all of this stuff about her wedding. She's switching her plans again. She switched the plans again. She spent Thanksgiving with Travis Kelce. I hope so. I mean, you know what I mean? And I just think it's so funny that a little comment that Ryan Reynolds made about their child, I'm not sure, son, I guess, or whatever, 2 years old, would now run front page on every single mainstream media like it's so freaking important. What happened to a few days ago when y'all were talking about the berating? What happened to It Ends With Us? What happens to Taylor Swift and Hugh Jackman that they were there? This one little comment that Ryan Reynolds said about the Green Lantern of all movies is what now is plastered everywhere. Oh, as well as their initiative program, their big love story, their Parents of the Year. You know, they were trying to rebrand Blake Lively all year long as the trad wife, right? The new perfect trad wife. Oh my gosh. It's not going to work, okay? It is, at this point, it's just, yep, I smell it and it's desperate. Speaking of desperate, let's get into this. Blake. Blake Lively is now seeking, yet again, motion to compel. Yes, she is. It's a motion to compel, ladies and gentlemen. She is yet again seeking, but this time for 8 signal messages. Yeah, 8 signal messages is going to be the evidence she finally needs to prove not sexual harassment, because allegedly they just totally forgot about that. In all of the depositions and everything we've read so far and everything that's going on, ain't nobody care about the sexual harassment anymore from Blake Lively's team. It feels like, you know, what happened to Darvo? What happened to the abuser? What happened to Blake Lively being the big victim? What they're really focused on is the smear campaign, which is wild because there's so much evidence of Blake Lively also doing PR that I feel like, well, it's like calling the kettle black. It's like glass houses there, Blake. It's like, you started. Anyway, now she's compelling. This has been going on for months, these signal messages. I mean, months and months and months. The judge has already made like 2 orders on it. Wayfair keeps amending, sending back the privilege log, explaining why it's privileged, you know, but it's still not good enough. And now she wants 8 more signal messages from them, okay? You can't make it up. The Hollywood's best writer couldn't make this up, okay? It's something. It is something out there, okay? Whoop, other planet, we've arrived, yeah? So this is the letter here that was the motion to compel. Now you'll see, in good old Blake Lively fashion, everything is redacted. I mean, things that probably, like words that don't even need to get redacted. Everything's redacted, and yet she's filing motions for sanctions on Melissa Nathan for improper redactions. Again, make it make sense. You can't. You really can't, you know? So plaintiff Blake Lively, okay, she writes this motion to compel to address outstanding deficiencies identified in the Wayfair Studios LLC, Justin Baldoni, Jamie He, Steve Soritz, It Ends With Us Movie LLC, Melissa Nathan, the Agency Group, and Jennifer Abel. Collectively, the Wayfair defendants. Fourth, embarrassing, amended privilege log. After 3 months and 5 opportunities to cure obvious privilege issues, the Wayfair defendants still are withholding documents and communications that, on their face, fail to demonstrate a cognizable basis for asserting any form of privilege. According to Miss Lively, herein seeks an order compelling the Wayfair defendants to produce those 8 signal communications. 8 signal communications. 8. Okay, 8 messages. That's it. You know, when Blake Lively had to show medical records instead of showing any medical records, she withdrew her 2 biggest claims already. So, like, 8 signal, you're writing on 8 signal messages? Girl, it's December. What are you, like, if you can't prove it without these 8 messages, if you don't already have it, especially since your lawyers all year, even before fact discovery, were like, we have a tantamount of evidence. We have so much. Wait till you see it. It completely proves our smear campaign theory. Well, now you need 8 signal messages. So what? Okay. Redacted. As identified in Appendix A, which is sealed. Okay, so you can't get to anything. You have no idea what she's talking about. It's the world of Blake Lively. We're going to live in it for a few minutes, okay? And also, 2, to produce the blank to signal communications as identified in Appendix B, and produce those 10 signal communications that still concern blank. Who knows what the blank is there? The Wayfarer defendants should be ordered to produce all those blank, as demonstrated in Appendix A. None of these communications include the presence of counsel or law clerks, nor do any of these entries identify for whom the underlying work was being performed. At 2, outlining the basic elements required of a complaint privilege log. Worse yet, these communications feature the very same deficiencies this court previously warned would be inadequate. Among other things, these entries fail to demonstrate that these communications are intended to give professional advice to those who can act on it, or to provide information to the lawyer to enable him to give sound and informed advice. Rather than reflect the conveyance of professional advice from counsel, many of these communications appear to reflect blank, which is not privileged. What's more, these entries reflect more of the same conclusory claims, blank and blank, that are not tied to specific legal issues, which this court previously warned were insufficient. Instead, blank. The Wayfarer defendants should be ordered to produce blank. Despite previously agreeing to produce non-privileged attachments, the 4th amended privilege log confirms that the Wayfarer defendants continue to withhold blank. As to the documents themselves, the Wayfarer defendants only offer the following description: blank, blank, and blank. Among other things, the 4th amended privilege log fails to identify the date the document was prepared, the person or persons who prepared the document, the person to whom the document was directed, and for whom the document was prepared, or even how each element of the privilege is met as to that document. Because the Wayfarer defendants have failed to demonstrate that these attachments carry any of the hallmarks of a privileged document, they must be produced. The Wayfarer defendants should be ordered to produce blank. As reflected in Appendix C, the Wayfarer defendants continue to withhold blank, which the court previously held were inadequate for purposes of asserting privilege assertions. Indeed, the vague descriptions provided fall woefully short of establishing that these communications fall within any form of privilege. The Wayfarer defendants should be ordered to produce in full or at minimum in redacted from signal communications that concern. A media campaign is not a litigation strategy. The court has made clear on several occasions. In response, the Wayfarer defendants blank. However, it nevertheless remains unclear whether the primary purpose of these communications was to discuss blank. Why not just say what the primary, what could that word be? However, it nonetheless remains unclear whether the primary purpose of these communications was to discuss litigation, smear campaign, the movie, Blake Lively. What word are you trying to redact here? Just, lawyers, law. I mean, it's just, what else could they be talking about that you need to redact? We all are pretty aware of what's in the signal messages by this rate. These 8 to 10 signal messages, what are you redacting for, Because it says right here, which is not entitled to protection from discovery. Okay, so what is it? To discuss what? Family, birth, scenes, sex, porn? What is the word? Okay, because just redacting that word is I think, to me, extremely unnecessary. Accordingly, the Wayfarer defendants should be ordered to produce these communications in their entirety or upon an in-camera review in redacted form to the extent privileged content exists within these communications. Okay, and then you go up to the footnote here and it says, at the outset, Ms. Lively notes that several entries at issue include references to redacted. Based on the court's prior decision on the issue, Ms. Lively does not seek to compel the disclosure of this information, which can be redacted if the Wayfarer defendants are ordered to produce these documents. So you're saying that there is references to something that obviously we can't see. I mean, it's probably a smear campaign, PR, contracts, public relations efforts, something like that. But you're just saying right now that you do not seek to compel the disclosure of the information, but literally this whole letter is to a motion to compel the information. So it's like, I don't understand the footnote. It just, that to me doesn't make sense, because she's saying that Lively does not seek to compel the disclosure of the information, which can be redacted if the Wayfarer defendants are ordered to produce these documents. So what do you want the documents for? if they're going to just redact everything on them? How do you... we move on. The privilege log, this is another footnote at the bottom. The privilege log simply identifies a sender associated with these attachments, not the drafter of the document. It is worth noting that only now, in this 5th attempt at preparing a compliant privilege log, do the Wayfair defendants indicate that they have been withholding... Please, girl. This whole letter is a mess. I don't know what you and your lawyers were thinking. Of course, it could be for PR. It could be a stall tactic. It could be wearing the resources thin because, of course, now the Wayfair defendants still have to they have until the 5th for the request for admissions. They also have to give the judge another reply on Ryan Reynolds, a more detailed reply before he rules on that motion for Ryan Reynolds of sanctions. And there's a lot. They're still doing a lot of stuff, right? And then we have this letter here filed by Blake Lively's team, but it says that it's from everyone, but I don't know about this because they want replies. Like, let's keep the ball moving here, but they just want clarification on the deadlines. Apparently that's what the letter was just for clarification, but as we go on, you'll see that it's a little tricky, okay? So it's all of the parties, including my dear enemy, Stephanie motherfucking Jones, okay? It's everyone. We write with the consent of the parties pursuant to Rule 1D and 2K of your Honor's individual practices in civil cases to clarify the scope of the parties' so ordered stipulation to extend deadlines for motions for continued sealing and the court's order extending deadlines to move forward for continued sealing of summary judgment materials. These requests are made in the interest of party and judicial economy and to streamline the briefing on these upcoming sealing motions. The parties would like to clarify that 1. These extensions of time to move for continued sealing apply to documents filed under seal pursuant to Rule 4B of Attachment A to your Honor's individual rules in connection with Jones Works' motion for spoliation sanctions. And 2, the January 9th, 2026 deadline to oppose the sealing motions due on December 19th applies to materials relating to the summary judgment motion, opposition, and replies. She doesn't want us seeing nothing. Nobody else's depositions, her text messages, her emails. That was all in the summary judgment exhibits. There was like over 200. To the extent not encompassed in prior orders, the parties jointly move for an order. 1, extending the deadline for motions for continued sealing in connection with Jones Works spoliation motion to December 19th, with response due January 9th. And 2, extending the deadline for responses to motions for continued sealing of summary judgment materials to January 9th. It was already extended to December 19th. She had already asked. January 9th now. Okay, very interesting. Lively already wrote on November 21st asking for an extension. Under the parties' agreement, the deadline to file any such reply briefs should be December 8th. The parties' now scheduled appearance before the court is December 9th. That was granted. There is an extension there. I mean, she has filed many extensions now. And then again, on November 25th, she asked for another extension. Now, this is for all of the unsealing. That was for December 19th. And then also now to have the reply from Mr. Reynolds, Ms. Lively, Stephanie motherfucking Jones be January 9th. For responses to the motions, and that was granted. Now they want to extend the Jones Works deadline to also December 19th, and I think it's so that everyone gets bombarded with so much information at once on the 19th that, some things fall through the cracks, I bet is what they're hoping for, and then responses on January 9th, and they want to extend now that January 9th deadline for responses to the motions, and they want everything for the summary judgment kept under seal. No, we want it. I don't know how the judge is going to feel like that since just a few days ago he gave like a 12-page order on unsealing and how the public has a right to know what's going on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what this does kind of tell me is I wouldn't be surprised if Blake Lively is trying to settle. I don't think Wayfair should ever do it. Ever, unless it comes with a very public apology, almost in the same realm of what Ryan Reynolds was trying to get through WME and Sony Wayfair to read in August of 2024. It would have to be something like that full vindication, complete innocence. You know, she'll have to admit that she's a little crazy. I mean, if a fork's a fork, right? I mean, like, hello. But I don't know. More extensions on time. We'll see what the judge has to say about that. He did make an order of an audio recording, which I find very interesting, which is this order. On November 26th, 2025, the court ordered unsealed the audio recording number 87440, which is Exhibit 43 to Plaintiff Blake Lively's motion for spoliation sanctions. To the extent that she has already not done so, Ms. Lively is directed to provide physical copies of the recording in CD format to the Records Management Department of the Clerk's Office in room 370 of the 500 Pearl Street Courthouse by December 4th. Furthermore, in the November 26th unsealing order, the court directed Jones Works to contact Chambers regarding the refiling of Exhibit 42 to Jones Works' motion for spoliation sanctions, which is an audio recording that certain parties and non-parties seek to maintain under seal. The court has since determined that this exhibit is the same audio recording as Exhibit 47 filed in connection with Lively's motion for spoliation sanctions, which the court had sealed already because the audio recording, it reveals who is on the call with the party. So therefore, the court has now deemed this one to be sealed as well. So we're not going to see Stephanie motherfucking Jones's or Blake's audio recording, but we are going to get another one. The next couple of days are kind of crucial a little bit to everyone. Like today, for example, the Wayfarer have until today to reply to the New York Times with the anti-slap case that's happening. So I will be going over there to see what's going on and bring you all of the information. Tomorrow, there's going to be big replies from Blake Lively as well, because it is the due date for Blake Lively to reply to not only the motion for summary judgment, but for the reply also for the motion for judgment on the pleadings. So I don't know. And that's probably why she wants all of this stuff redacted until well into the year, because if it were to get unsealed, it's going to be some problems, I think. But that's the deadline. Also, tomorrow is the deadline for all the parties to provide the proposed redactions, and they need to be uploaded with the docket. And that is for the order that the judge already gave a huge memorandum on unsealing. As well as tomorrow is for Wayfarer's substantive opposition to Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' Rule 11 motions. So tomorrow's going to be a big day, okay? It is going to get a little wild out here, okay? We're going to be tussling, okay? There's going to be a lot coming at us, and we are going to get through it. I promise you. Okay, that's why I want to get you the rest of these unsealings today, okay? Today is just PR. If you didn't see the video from yesterday, we went over all of the Wayfarers unsealed depositions. Today, we're going to go over all of the unsealed depositions for PR. Again, this was evidence Blake Lively submitted as attachments and exhibits to support her claims, okay? To support her claims for spoliation and to get sanctions. So far, I haven't seen nothing of nothing that is nothing, okay? But Blake Lively did redact damn near pages of the motion, and it says that these depositions prove that there was spoliation. They knew litigation was coming. They should have kept documents. And I say once again, Miss Blake Lively, if you wanted the Wayfarer people to know and prepare for litigation, if you wanted them to think it was going to happen, instead of doing an illegal, shady, crazy tactic that's highly immoral, you did a backdoor lawsuit, okay, with John Doe's 1 through 10, which you used your fake ass inactive company Van Zandt to do, to serve Stephanie motherfucking Jones a shady ass sham subpoena so that she could give you otherwise illegal stolen text messages. But if you would have just done it the right way, the proper way, because you were fighting for justice, right? You were fighting because you were violated. So if you would have just went the legal course of action, if you would have just done the right thing, the next step ahead of you, guess what? Wayfarer would have been on alert, and you wouldn't be over here crying to Judge Lyman trying to get 8 more signal messages, because even through that subpoena, through Van Zandt, which is crazy because you signed the contract under Blakel Inc. So, buddy, don't get me started. If you wanted them to keep messages from August, then instead of subpoenaing Stephanie motherfucking Jones behind everyone's back, you should have served the subpoena straight to the people who you damn well knew you were going to try to get in trouble and sue. Okay, girl? Now we're over here. You're crying about 8 signal messages. Yeah. This is the depositions from the PR people. Okay, let's just get into it because I'm getting spicy over here. We're going to start with an actual true victim in this entire lawsuit, which is Jennifer Abel. Okay, Blake Lively, yeah, you know what you did, and your good old pal there, Stephanie motherfucking Jones, and Leslie Sloan, and Ryan Reynolds, and whoever else was involved. You did this girl wrong, okay? What you guys did to Jen Abel, disgusting. Disgusting. We're going to start with her deposition. This is one of them that has been unsealed. Oh, great. We start out strong, too, because we have Gottlieb. Ugh. Exhibit 57 is a document bearing the Bates number Baldoni 02412 through 0417. This appears to be a text change between you, Miss Jones, Mr. Heath, and Mr. Baldoni on November 10th, 2023. Yes. And it starts around 9:53 p.m. and concludes around 10:12 p.m. Is that right? Yes. And do you recall this conversation? I do. And in this conversation, Mr. Baldoni reaches out and he says he needs you and Miss Joan on a Zoom, right? Yes. And Mr. Heath says it begins again. Yes. Mr. Freeman, are we missing a page here? It goes from 2414 to 2416. It's this. It's the picture of this bear. It's missing an image from the production I will represent to you. It's a screenshot of this bear. I have that one here. Yeah. That's 24. That's 20413. It's an entire page with this reproduced on it. What did you understand that Mr. Heath to mean by saying it begins again? I mean, at the time, I don't think I really gave that much notice, but now in this context, I assume additional issues. Do you see at 10:11 at the bottom of page 0414, Mr. Heath has forwarded to you a legal letter, a screenshot of a legal letter anyway, that had been received by Miss Lively's lawyers? Yes. And in it, Miss Lively's lawyer discusses the complaints of our clients and others. And you see there is an attachment that Mr. Heath had sent at 10:12 p.m. Yes. And that attachment is the protections for return for a production document. That is at Baldoni, right? Yes. Do you recall receiving these 17 protections for return to production? Yes, he texted it to us. Do you recall reviewing them at that time? Yes. Did you review all of them? We had a phone call and we talked through these. And in fact, there came other points in time later on in the timeline where you talked about these points with Mr. Heath and Mr. Baldoni, right? You're going to have to be a little bit more specific. This wasn't the last time. November 10th, 2023. That was not the last time you looked at this 17-point list, right? Correct. Eventually, you all devise some sort of responses or points to address these should they ever become public, right? I believe that we put, and then it skips a bunch of pages. Your belief that that person could bury Miss Lively? No. You sure? Yes. Miss Abel, yesterday you testified that in some point in August of 2017, you were added to a signal chain. Is that right? Sorry, what was the date? At some point. Did I say 2017? Yeah. In August of 2024, you were added to a signal chain with a few people. Is that right? I believe I testified that I think I was around that time frame. I don't think there was any content in that text change. Okay, and who was? Hold on just a second. Who was on the text chain to the best of your recollection? I believe it was, I have to go back and refresh my memory. Okay, so you're not sure as you sit here? I'm not sure. Is it fair to say you didn't use Signal very often? Correct. You didn't open the app very much. It wasn't something you used on a regular basis. Is that your testimony? I believe my testimony yesterday was I had re-downloaded it because the only time I had used it was when Stephanie introduced me to the app for use on another client, and then I deleted it. You deleted it. And in August 2024, at some point you reinstalled the app? I recall doing so, yes. And you were on some chain that you don't remember who was on it, and you don't remember really what was sent or not sent? Correct. Did you ever send a message on Signal in August of 2024 to the best of your recollection? I don't recall. And the thing about that is We'll never know, right? Because Signal is an ephemeral messaging platform. Objection. Do you know what an ephemeral messaging platform is? Objection. I know the definition of ephemeral messaging. Yes. The messages delete after a certain period of time if you have the settings set a certain way, right? Yeah, that's my understanding of how it works. Sorry, that's why some people like to use Signal, right? Sure, because messages delete and therefore there's perceived privacy in those communications. Amongst other reasons, yes. Security reasons? Yes. Are you aware that Mr. Wallace was communicating with your colleagues or colleagues at Tag or others at Wayfair using Signal platform in August of 2024? I don't recall if I was aware at the time, but I have become aware of it since then. Okay. What did you become aware of? The usage of Signal amongst Jed Wallace and other people. Okay, let's look at Exhibit 62. Thank you. Miss Abel, you've been handed a document marked Jones Works 37247 through 37248, a text change between you and Stephanie Jones on June 17th, 2024. Previously, I asked you if you had recommended the retention of any other individuals in this case because they could bury Miss Lively. Yes? All I'm asking, Miss Abel, is you didn't tell anyone? Don't look at my Signal messages, right? No. Okay, so if you had them, presumably, and they were responsive, they would have been produced to us, right? Yeah, I believe so, yes. And again, Signal is a messaging platform where messages delete after a certain period of time, right? Yes. Handing you what we've marked as Exhibit 70. This is a document bearing the Bates numbers, Jones Works 14019 through 14029. And Miss Abel, I'm only going to be asking you about questions starting with messages on, and then it skips. Then we get to email accounts. I don't know. You do. Do you know, for example, whether your RWA email account deletes information after a certain period of time? I do not know. Did you ever at any point go check whether the RW8 account has an auto delete feature on it? I don't believe it does, but I did not specifically check. Did you ever receive an instruction to discontinue any auto deletion functions that might exist on your accounts? Objection. I will instruct you not to answer to any communications that you had with your counsel. Other than counsel, did you get an instruction from someone? No. Did you come to understand at any time, Ms. Abel, that you had an obligation to preserve documents relating to the dispute between Miss Lively and Mr. Baldoni? Same instruction, as it will invade the attorney-client privilege. So even if you're going to say yes to that, that's going to invade the attorney-client privilege. So you're not going to. I'm going to instruct her not to answer. About the simple fact of whether she knew she was required to preserve documents? Yeah, because the simple fact is revealing the actual privileged communication. Okay. So are you going to follow your counsel's instruction? Yes, I'm going to follow my counsel's instruction. Okay. Well, other than the Signal thread that we talked about earlier in August, between August and December of 2024, can you think of any other Signal thread or Signal communications that you sent or received to anyone about anything? No, not that I can recall, no. Okay, have you had any Signal communication since December of 2024? December of 2024 until now? Yes. And how many different Signal chains or threads do you have going on at one time? I don't recall. I don't know. Have those Signal communications included communications about the issue in this case? To clarify, I have with my attorneys. Okay, have any of those communications been about the press? I don't recall. Have you communicated with Mr. Wallace on Signal at any time from December of 2024 to the present, with inclusion of my attorneys? So the answer is yes. Yes, with inclusion of my attorneys. Okay, have you communicated with Mr. Wallace outside of any threads, including your attorneys? Since the lawsuit was filed, have you taken any steps, not talking about any conversations or advice that you have received, but have you taken any steps personally to ensure that your communications are preserved? Other than what you've learned from counsel, you can answer if you're taking steps outside of what we discussed. I've produced documents as requested. Mr. Friedman, she can testify about what she's done, even if she's discussed what she's done with you. That's clearly not privileged. And so my question is, Can you think of anything that you have done? I don't want to know about what you talked to with your lawyers about, okay? But can you think of anything that you have done, any steps you have taken outside of conversations with counsel, but actual things you've done to preserve your documents, your electronic communications in this case? Yes, and I apologize. I thought I answered. I've produced everything as requested. Okay, so my next question is a little bit different. So, okay, I understand you're saying you produced what you found. My question is, at any point in time, do you have a recollection of taking steps to ensure that nothing would be deleted, no auto delete functions would be on, no messages would expire from a set period of time, or the like, anything like that? Same instruction as to attorney-client privilege. If you can answer it outside of that, you can answer it. Yeah, I don't think I can answer it. Are you aware that you have produced 4 signal communications to us in this case? Again, if you're aware of it based on something you learned from counsel, I would like you not to provide the information. If you're aware of it some other way, you can answer. I'm not aware of it any other way. Do you know that there are signal communications that you have been copied on that have been produced to us in this case that you have not produced to us in this case? No. Did you have signal communications with Sage Steele in early January of 2025? Yeah, I don't recall by signal, but you've had communications that you recall with Sage Steele in early January 2025. Yes, I recall Sage had reached out to us. This case personally resonated with her. I believe she had a brother who was falsely accused, and she expressed interest in wanting to support in our defense. And do you know what you had signal communications with Ms. Coslow and Ms. Nathan in January of 2025 that did not include your attorneys? In January, I don't recall. Okay, but your testimony is you produced to us everything that could be found in your phone that was responsive to our request, right? Woo-hoo! Jen Abel, you stick to your guns, girl. This is the next one and last one from Jennifer Abel, and then there'll be one from Melissa Nathan and one from Jed Wallace, and that's everything thus far. Okay, so then we have Gottlieb again. Here we go. Okay, so where it cut off last time when he hands her a document about Jones Works, then we get them in this attachment. I don't know why they just didn't put everything together, but here we go. Okay, he just handed her an attachment from Jones Works. So we can share with him tonight, but he feels good about the call and he feels protected. Do you see that? Yes. A few days earlier, he had told you he didn't feel protected, right? Yes. And at this point, that's changed and he does feel protected. This is in reference to specific messaging regarding why the cast had unfollowed him, and there were no images as he was doing the Today Show the following day. Okay, so this is on August 7th. I'm going to show you another document. This is Exhibit 65. Okay, this is a one-page document marked Heath 28187. It was an email from Katie Case that you then forward on August 7th, 2024. Yep. Do you recognize this document? I do. And this is the top email is an email that you send in reply to Miss Case. Is that right? Yes. And at 2:50 p.m. on the 7th, Miss Case has sent to Mr. Heath and yourself specifics regarding social and digital mitigation or mediation, right? Yes. And she's describing the work that the digital team that Wayfair was retained to do, right? You see at the top, you have a question about the amount of the fee. And then you have a reference to what we discussed with MN earlier regarding social manipulation. Do you see that? Yes. MN is Miss Nathan. Yes. And then you say, as read, from the separate team is based in Hawaii. Do you see that? Yes. What is the separate team based in Hawaii? I don't mean to laugh, but we've discussed this and it was either a misunderstanding on my side or I misheard. But I had a conversation with Melissa regarding a digital team that she had worked with, and it was my understanding that they were based in Hawaii. Okay. And did you later come to learn that there was no team based in Hawaii? Yes. Was there a separate team? Yes. And that separate team not in Hawaii was something that you had discussed regarding social manipulation. Do you see that? Yes. Who was the separate team? It's my understanding that this was Jed Wallace and Street Relations. What was your understanding of who else worked at Street Relations or with Street Relations other than Jed Wallace? I had no communications directly with Jed or Street, so I'm not too sure. You were never on a call with Mr. Wallace? No, not that I can recall. Did you ever meet him? No. You ever on a text chain with him? I don't think so, no. Was it your impression that the specific efforts that are described in the bullet points in Miss Case's email were services that Mr. Wallace's team was capable of performing? Objection, objection. As I said earlier, it was my understanding that this is a list of their capabilities. Did you think at the time that this was all puffery? Can you explain to me what you mean by puffery? And then it skips. Puffery? Puffery is a funny word. No, I believe that was a continuation of the recommendation that we requested earlier, and I had to clearly I asked for Melissa's opinion. I don't think that was the Miss Abel. Yes. You say at 10:32 p.m. in response to Miss Nathan saying, can he please hire a lawyer? You say, as read, he needs to. He has one, but he needs a litigator. Right? But I don't think that was the impetus. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to respond to your question. Okay, all I'm asking is, following your learning about the request to put out a statement, you and Miss Nathan immediately say that your client, Mr. Baldonian Wayfair, needs to hire a litigator. You both agree on that, right? Yeah. Okay, and then at 11:42 p.m., Miss Nathan says, as I read it, can I start a signal thread with you, me, and Jed, just in case you need him to connect you to Brian because they are very close? Do you see that? Yes. Does that refresh your recollection as to who the signal thread you were on was with in August of 2024? Yes, but again, I don't know if one was actually started, so I would have to refresh my memory on that. Okay, and on the next page, 2156, Miss Nathan says, definitely contact him on. Sorry to have context for that. At 11:43 p.m. on the previous page, you say, as I read, I can reach out to Brian too. We've worked together, right? Yes. And that's referring to Mr. Friedman? Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Yeah. Okay, and then at 11:44, Miss Nathan says, definitely contact him on Signal though. Do you see that? Yes. She says, feel free to add me, obviously, because of the crisis. So Miss Nathan is telling you, definitely connect with Mr. Freeman on Signal. Do you see that? Yes. And again, Mr. Freeman is not one of your lawyers at this point in time. Is that right? That is correct. Did you think it was strange that you were being directed to contact an attorney on Signal? No. Is that something you've been asked to do before, contact an attorney on Signal? I don't recall, no. And then it skips. Okay, so we have one short one here from Melissa Nathan, and then the very last one is another short one from Jed Wallace. I get what they're saying about, I did see those text messages before too about to contact Brian Freeman or you need Brian or something. I mean, that doesn't mean that they anticipated litigation. They're still doing everything that they can to make sure that if litigation was to start, that they would be covered, and they have to get all of their ducks in a row, and they don't know what Blake and Ryan were capable of. Of course, it was good to consult with an attorney. Hello. I'm sure Blake Lively was also consulting with her attorneys when she made that fake ass lawsuit for Van Zandt. Whose idea was that? Anyway, it's so crazy that they could create Van Zandt, start a fake lawsuit to get a sham subpoena, to get otherwise illegal text messages, and they're over here deposing these people and absolutely riding them over using Signal. I'm flabbergasted. So here we go. Melissa Nathan starts on page 49. My text in general. No. And did you at any point during the time period of July 1st, 2024 to the present ever have an auto delete function enabled on your regular messaging app on your phone? No. You sometimes use Signal, is that right? I do. And you were using Signal at least for some purposes in July and August of 2024, is that right? It is. And Signal is not like the standard Apple messaging product, is that right? I can't speak to Apple messaging, but I do know what Signal is used for. And what is it used for? It's used to, it's been really popular, especially in all of our lives business over the last couple of years, because there is an option that it auto deletes messages for privacy. That's what that's the Melissa Nathan deposition that she sealed up. Why wouldn't you just unseal? Like, why would you even have to seal that? Anyway, we move on. We have Jed here. I hope there's some kind of juiciness here because so far, Blake, I don't see nothing about spoliation. Big deal. They wanted to contact a lawyer because you asked them to make a public apology and you stole their entire movie from them. Crazy. Okay. Yes, they were using signal messages. Big freaking deal. What if they only communicated on the phone? How would you get those phone calls? How would you figure out what they were talking about on the phone? The exact same way that you're doing right now, trying to figure out how they messaged. OMG. Like, what's the problem? It's just so crazy. Anyway, here we go. Jed Wallace, last one, baby. Not that I recall. Mr. Wallace, in connection with that work you were doing for Wayfair, do you have any recollection of ever speaking to Miss Jones related to Wayfair? Yes. I did not have any recollection. Do you have any recollection of ever being copied on any communications with Miss Jones in connection with the work you were doing for Wayfair? Not that I recall. Did you ever understand that Miss Jones was involved at all in the work that you were doing for Wayfair? Yeah. Could you rephrase the question? I'm wondering whether or not you had any understanding that Miss Jones was involved at all or at all in any scope of the work you were doing for Wayfair. I knew Miss Jones represented Wayfair at one point. But with regard to your work, you never spoke to her, right? I don't recall. Sitting here today, you don't have a recollection of speaking with her in connection with Wayfair, is that right? Not in connection with Wayfair, no, I don't recall. 72. Exhibit 72 is marked. Are you done with it? I am. Let's put that one back in the stack so we don't lose it. You handed me this one. Mr. Wallace, you're now reviewing what's been marked as Exhibit 72. It's a document Bates stamps Jones Works MN several zeros 1249 through 1258. Mr. Wallace, I'm not going to ask you about any of the details of the article that you're being forwarded. Okay. Mr. Wallace, is Exhibit 62 a forward that Melissa sent you on or about August 13th, 2024? And then it cuts off. Okay. And that's it. That's all the juicy unsealed depositions. Oh my gosh. It proves everything Blake redacted. Anyway, tomorrow's a big day, guys. Get some rest tonight because we're in for a roller coaster of a ride this week. I will be here every day, multiple videos if I have to. I will do lives. I will get you through it. We will do everything we got to do because I'm sure Lively is going to come with some gaslighting, some redactions. It's going to have to be like, figure it out yourself, but you don't get to see nothing, you know. We'll see what happens there, but it was a pleasure to be here. I hope you're having the most amazing day. I have a bunch of stuff lined up for you that I'm trying to get to, but this case is keeping a girl busy, you feel me? But lots of good stuff, and I'm really excited. I'm kind of excited for the holidays so I can like regroup, start everything, get the stuff fresh. But then, of course, at this time of the year, too, you kind of get like a little reminiscent of your year. And did I do enough? Did I am enough? You are enough. Okay. If you're still here today, congratulations. Okay. That's it. I don't know where I was going with that, but I wanted to leave you with that because I just had some conversations with some friends who always around this time of year kind of get a little bogged down. And for once, like, I don't know, I feel good. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, I'm not on set on some big Hollywood movie or getting my films made, but I'm writing all the time. I'm here. I get to use my voice. I get to fight for justice. I mean, I don't know. I'm feeling really good. And I'm feeling really good about where I'm at, where I came from, and where I'm going. And it's kind of a really good feeling. And sometimes I'm like, is this balloon going to pop and I'm going to fall down on my butt? Maybe it will, but I'm going to enjoy it while I'm here. You feel me? And I hope you enjoy yourself where you're at too. And you can always celebrate you, even if that's just taking 5 minutes out of your day to just like fully give yourself a big hug and appreciate how far you've come and what you've gone through. Nobody is you. And that's kind of like the miracle of life, is that all of us are completely ourselves and no one knows really what we survive with every day, and nobody has ever walked even a second in our shoes. So never take that for granted, that you are completely unique. You are so fucking powerful, and I'm really proud of you, and I'm super psyched to have you in frame, okay? I love you so much, and I hope you're having a great day, okay? And tonight you get to love yourself just a little bit more, and you get to recharge, because you're gonna need it for this week, all right? I will talk to you soon before I keep babbling on, and yeah, I love you so much. Bye.